Good morning. My name is Bob Neller, and I have the honor and privilege of being the president of Marine Corps University, and I'd like to welcome you all to this spring's Emerald Express. Just for some historical context, at least as the way I recall it, Emerald Express started as a gathering of military and interagency personnel after Marine deployment to Somalia, because there was a recognition that the interagency piece was critical and that both the civilian side and the military side didn't do it as well as they could have or should have. So it was an opportunity to get together with people from various viewpoints and areas of expertise to try to share ideas, and then hopefully that when we met again in some faraway place, we'd be able to operate in a more effective way. I'll let you judge for yourself the results of that. But again, welcome here to the Gray Research Center in Marine Corps University. Many of you probably didn't know the Marine Corps had a university, let alone a president. And even the Marines that know that I'm currently the president can have a difficult time saying that with a straight face. But I'll start off today's events and try to give a little context for what we hope to do. Minister Popal, distinguished guests, fellow general officers, flag officers, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the Emerald Express. We've entitled this symposium, Afghanistan, the Way Ahead. It's being co-hosted by the university and the Marine Corps University Foundation. I'd ask General Tom Droughty to stand up. He's the chairman of the Marine Corps University Foundation. And they're in support of us, and they use their good offices to provide support for the university and some of the things that we do. And so a lot of the amenities that you're going to receive today are based on their support, and we thank them for that. In this conference, you join colleagues from the joint, interagency, international, non-governmental, media, academic, private sector have come here to discuss, share, and learn about our ongoing situation in Afghanistan. And we have our sincere thanks in your interest and participation in this event. Now, that's what they wrote for me to say. What I really realize, there's a lot of people that just use this as an excuse out of Washington and come down to Quantico. So, and I know you have to write some report to prove that you were here and this was of value, so hopefully we'll be able to meet that requirement. Now, since I've been at the university, I've learned that whenever you have educational opportunities, you have to have a learning outcome. Okay, not a learning objective, we have a learning outcome. So what is our learning outcome today? Dr. Wilson, my ops guy, is really getting nervous now because I'm not reading anything off the script that he gave me. So I think our learning outcome today is a better understanding and appreciation of the complexity of the political, military, operational environment we face in Afghanistan. So if we walk out of here today having a better understanding of what's going on in that country where we all have a vested interest, then I think we'll have been successful. Now, today's symposium comes as Marine Forces, and I have to be parochial. I'm a Marine, and this is Marine Corps University, and the bulk of the audience here is Marine. But Marine Forces are taking an increasing role as part of NATO's International Security Assistance Force. And I had to go back and look and remind myself exactly what ISAF meant, but in that title is a very interesting number of words. It's international, it's security, it's assistance. So I think that's important to remember that. But we find a fairly large number of Marines, along with other U.S. and coalition forces and Afghan forces in Regional Command South. Now, this is not the first involvement of Marine forces in Afghanistan. Since 2002, our Corps has provided at various times aviation, fixed wing, rotary wing, Marine Expeditionary Units, infantry battalions from 3rd Marine Regiment in Hawaii, and then at various parts and places at times throughout the country. But there was never a kind of a coherent Marine Air Ground Task Force presence there. And then in 2007, 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines from 29 Palms was assigned to Sistika to do a police mentoring mission in Helmand Province. That evolved into a special purpose MAGTF led by 3rd Marine Regiment in the fall of 2007, which was followed by a Marine Expeditionary Brigade, MEB-A, formed out of 2nd MEB, out of 2MEF at Camp Lejeune. And they most recently transferred their responsibilities to 1 MEF Forward, which are now part of Regional Command South and ultimately may become Regional Command Southwest. The numbers of Marines involved, probably when 3-7 was there, a little over 1,000, and now it's dangerous to quote a number, and General Trine told me not to quote a number because you'll all blame me for the number, but I can positively say well in excess of 10,000 Marines in Afghanistan, and the number will fluctuate as forces flow in and flow out. Now, originally those forces operated in the northwest near Delaram, Nowzad, Musa Kela, but now we're down southwest of Kandahar, in the river valley there near Lashkar Gah, Nawa, and Marja. Now, I have to make a point and to recognize some of our attendees today that all this deployment of Marine forces over the last year was done while U.S. forces in Iraq, under the command of Multinational Force West, were redeploying. And we have in our audience today some of the commanders of that force, and I'd ask, and they went through the process of confirming what we had done in Anbar, and a lot of us have, experience in Anbar, many people in this room, and we all bring with it, our hopes that the Iraqi people and the Iraqi government will have a successful transition in their government and take advantage of the many opportunities they have. But I'd ask General Rick Trine and John Whistler and Whaler Walsh to stand up, and I ask you to join me in a round of applause because they were the ones that closed out the deal at Anbar. Now, I would submit that whatever success Marine and other coalition forces have achieved in Iraq and so far in Afghanistan has been due to effective advising and partnering with host nation security forces, both Army and police, working effectively with the interagency in Afghanistan with provincial reconstruction teams who themselves are working with local and national Afghan government officials in understanding that the people of Afghanistan, their security and economic well-being, respect for their culture and way of life are of paramount importance, and that understanding of these matters and having an appreciation of the impact on the success of the mission at all levels, from private to general, is critical. At the end of the day, we all know we're going to leave. But we must work to transition responsibilities for security, the Afghan security forces, into the national and local governments for the rule of law, economic development. By ourselves, the coalition will not be decisive. The challenges in Afghanistan cannot be solved by coalition forces alone, but certainly we can be part of a successful facilitation of an acceptable end state for the Afghan government, for Afghan security forces, and most importantly for the Afghan people. Now, today's symposium hopefully will offer a forum to examine the issues surrounding this, the history, the culture, the governance, the economic development, the transition of security, and even reconciliation with those today that may be our adversaries, in order to enable coalition forces to facilitate this success, however we ultimately define that. Throughout this event, panelists from both the operational and academic spectrum will provide their perspectives of interagency and intergovernmental efforts to arrive at an effort to achieve the goals of our collective strategy. Our panelists were selected based on their expertise, knowledge, reputation, and recent experience, and the fact that they said they'd come. I'm certain, as our presenters and panelists share their observations and experience on interagency and international coordination in the current security environment, they will stimulate some questions from the audience, and that's where you come in. So we encourage the audience to engage our speakers in an effort to facilitate the overall discussion in an attempt to achieve the learning outcome that I described at the beginning. To our panelists, each of you brings a unique expertise and experience critical to the success of this symposium. We're grateful to each of you for coming today to share your thoughts and experiences with us. We especially acknowledge those who've traveled great distances. I think we're all aware of the issues with international air travel at the time and ongoing. So working together, we'll explore our perspectives on interagency and partner coordination, collaboration, and cooperation, combine our collective understanding during this symposium. I thank each of you for taking the time and choosing to spend the day with us. Finally, I'd like to point out to our panelists and any other participants in this that today's events will be for attribution. In other words, the non-attribution policy is not in effect. We are recording this, and there are members of the media present. And now I have the pleasure and honor of introducing the morning's keynote speaker, His Excellency Mr. Ghulam Jalani Popal. His Excellency Mr. Popal currently serves the government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan as the Director General of Independent Directorate of Local Government. His Excellency was appointed to his post by President Hamid Karzai in 2007. From 2003 to 2005, Mr. Popal served as Deputy Minister for Revenue and Custom, Ministry of Finance of Afghanistan. In addition to his government services, he has worked for national, international, non-governmental organizations for almost 2 decades, serving the Afghan refugees in Pakistan. During this period, he worked as Program Manager for the Salvation Army's Refugee Assistance Program in Pakistan. As Managing Director of the Afghan Development Association, where he provided humanitarian and developmental assistance inside Afghanistan before his migration to Pakistan during the Afghan-Soviet War. Mr. Popal served as Assistant District Magistrate for Shurburgan Province in Afghanistan. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency Mr. Jalani Popal.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased and honored to speak before this esteemed forum this morning. Let me sincerely thank the Gray Research Center at the Marine Corps University to give me this opportunity to be among this distinguished guests. Also, I would also avail myself of this opportunity to thank the people in the government of the United States for their generous and valuable support they have provided, as well as sacrifices they have made to help the people in the government of Afghanistan. And special thanks to the Marine, and I have an honor to see the work of Marine in Helmand provinces in recent months, and I had an honor to have interaction in meeting with General Nicholson on the spot. I heard that General Nicholson will be here this morning, but I haven't seen him yet. But I have to mention that he brought a good reputation for the Marine and Helmand province. He's become the integral part of the Helmand community, or now Garamsey and Marja community. He won the respect and admiration of a lot of people. He's sitting in the wedding of the people. He's sitting in the funeral ceremonies. And during the operation and after operation, when the President Karzai went to Marja and Nawa districts, people said very interesting stories about how the Marine is protecting the life of children and women and civilians in endangering their lives to protect the people. So that was, with the arrival of Marine at the Helmand province, there was a big difference in trend in the security and the relationship of the community with the Afghan government and international coalition forces. So I want to thank for the great sacrifices and the Marine has made, and the achievements which in the very short period of time is made in Helmand. That was an example for the rest of the country. So I want to thank every Marine. And I'm very pleased to be a lot of Marine officers and generals this morning. Also, I can say with the confidence that, in a good conscience, that without your help and assistance, U.S. help and assistance, Afghanistan would have not been able to be in the same position like we are now today. So that your assistances and sacrifices are so valuable for sustaining the political and also the economical and social achievements we have made in the past 8 years in Afghanistan. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic, the way forward, is very interesting and complex and very multidimensional one. So in the short span of time, I will not be able to do justice in dealing with a topic covering all aspects of relevant dimensions. Therefore, I will only focus on an important area of the subnational governance, which is the area which I'm also directly involved in, have a direct responsibility to that field. Saying that, I will speak in some length because the director of the university asked me to speak today, and this is the Marine University, I have to follow the order, I think. But also that I heard him that he gave you some instruction that you have to listen, so please let me know if you finished before me, so then I'll... I'm sure that everyone here wants to know what our perspectives on the way ahead is. Today I will talk about the following main topics: the subnational institutional structures, the current status of the subnational governance, and the challenges we face in building governance institutions at the subnational level. Measures and reforms we are undertaking to tackle the challenges and enhance the legitimacy of the state institutions, and recommendation for partnership between the Afghan government and international community, particularly the role of the PRTs in this regard. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with explaining the subnational governance institutional structure in Afghanistan. But allow me to first mention the constitutional provisions for the design of the Afghan government structure. The Article 136 of our Constitution states that the administration of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan shall be based on the central and local administrative units according to the law. The central administration is divided into a number of administrative units, each of which shall be headed by a minister. The local administrative unit is a province. Article 137 of the Constitution states that the government, while preserving the principle of centralism, shall delegate certain authorities to local administration units for the purpose of expediting and promoting economic, social, and cultural affairs, and increasing the participation of people in the development of the nation. Afghanistan is a unitary state. It has 34 provinces and 34 provincial urban centers and 364 districts, with the Marja temporary districts is now 365 districts in Afghanistan. According to the household listing exercises 2003-2005, there is more than 40,000 villages in Afghanistan. The subnational governance and administration structure are divided in 4 main levels: the provincial level administration, and also the district level administration, and the municipal level administration, and the village level administration. And if the audience wants to know about more, then during the questioning and answering time, that we can elaborate on this, structure. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now elaborate on the current status of subnational governance and the main challenges. In order to be specific, we can divide the challenges that we face in subnational governance into the 2 main categories: the chronic structural and institutional problem, and also the post-conflict problem combined with the current insurgency problem. First, the chronic structural problem. Effective subnational governance in Afghanistan is inhibited by the lack of a clear and coherent policy or legal framework for subnational governance. This situation has led to the fact that our subnational level is short of an effective and coherent structure of the governance. The current subnational structure is characterized by the lack of transparency, openness, participation, and effectiveness and efficiency. Consequently, this has given rise to unclear roles and relationship of the entities at the provincial, municipal, district, and village level, coupled with an ambiguous relationship with the central government institutions. Likewise, the current subnational structure is deficient of an appropriate mechanism to allocate resources efficiently so as to effectively provide public services. The issue of resources flow to the provinces within the current institutional setup or the governance structure takes its origin from concentration of unnecessary power at the central ministries. This is an institutional obstacle. The second is the post-conflict problem combined with the current insurgency problem. The post-war and conflict problem demonstrate themselves in two forms. First, the weakness of human, institutional, and physical capacities that hinder effective functionality and productivity of the governance institutions. And the second, the current insurgency threat that hinders reach of the de jure government and implementation of the reforms at the subnational level. As a result, it leads to the creation of a de facto and de jure establishment within the state. We all know that this de facto and de jure dichotomy is never a favorable situation, particularly as the country is grappling with the insurgency crisis. This state of affairs erode the legitimacy and credibility of the governance institutions and create obstacles for the state building endeavors at the subnational level. Therefore, the provinces and districts where these kind of mixed problems exist fall prey to the horror of terrorist insurgents and criminal gangs. So our challenge is to extend the reach of the de jure to the provinces and the districts where people first experience the state, demanding security, good governance, and development. Ladies and gentlemen, at this stage, allow me to present you some concrete facts on the obstacles we face in the areas of human, physical capacity, as well as a shortage of financial resources to conduct the operation. These facts will provide you with good inputs for your judgment to assess under what circumstances we have to go ahead with our reform agenda and improve the governance at the subnational level. First, the weak human capacity. The human resources situation in the district and province is discouraging. 40% of the positions, the government position at the subnational level are vacant because of insecurity, low salary, and unavailability of the qualified candidates. Most of our educated young men and women are migrated to the cities. They are working with the donor, international agencies, and private sectors. They are reluctant to work with the government mainly because higher dollars are paid by international and private sectors. Situation in individual provinces and the districts varies. It is really bad in the south, southeast, and northwest of the country. Last year, just 5 out of 75 positions in Oruzgan province Oruzgan provincial governor office were filled. In Zabul provincial governor's office, only 12 out of 110 positions was filled. The human resource situation is a cause of concern in Paktika, Nuristan, Kandahar, Helmand, Farah, Faryab, Ghazni, Herat, Nimruz, Paktia, and the Wardak province. Evidently, there's an urgent need for improvement of the office infrastructure in a human resource situation in the provinces and the districts. The result from one of our studies reveals that nine of our district governors hold graduate degrees, 54 have studied 14 grades, and 197 have studied only 12 grade education. The second is the weak physical and infrastructure capacity. As you know it well, the provincial and district governors are the executive head of the provincial and district administration. They're expected to lead the governance, development, and security affairs of the provinces and districts. However, the quality of infrastructure and equipment available to them is extremely inadequate. We have still 6 provinces that do not have building for the provincial governors and 10 provinces that do not have satisfactory electricity supplies. Many of the provincial governor offices are operating in a poor condition and with the basic equipments. Many of the provincial governor offices do not have any means of effective and efficient communication with Kabul. The infrastructure available to the district governor is even weaker. Only half of the district governor have an office building, and 288 out of 364 do not have a vehicle. So the third problem is the weak institutional capacity and budget availability. We have inherited from the past a governance structure that has not been consistent in vertical functional relations between the center and provincial administration. In addition, there has been an inconsistency and disconnect when it comes to the budgetary resources allocation, development, and service delivery planning. For instance, IDLG does not receive any development government budget. Last year, we received operational cost budget of $25 million for operational of our central office, including all our provincial and district governor offices and provincial councils. Ladies and gentlemen, having heard the long list of these challenges, it is on time to hear what we can do or what we have done so far. Let me again mention some constitutional provisions that provide legal framework in which the subnational governance reforms will take place. Again, Article 137 of the Constitution states that the government, while preserving the principle of centralism, shall delegate certain authorities to the local administration units for the purpose of expediting and promoting economic, social, and cultural affairs, and increasing the participation of people in the development of a nation. To fulfill this, the spirit of this article of the Constitutions, His Excellency the President of Afghanistan issued a decree to create an independent Director of Local Governance on the 30th of August 2007, as to bring a wide range of reforms within the subnational governance structure. The IDLG has 4 main functions: core policy functions, that's development of the policy framework, rules and regulations for the subnational governance, core institutional development, provision of organizational strengthening, capacity building, and support to the subnational governance institutions, and broader governance functions, creation of and provision of the support for the participation of the stakeholders and citizens in the subnational governance process, and support function facilitating the delivery of the national programs and initiatives through subnational governance institution. IDLG has so far accomplished the following objectives in order to tackle the aforementioned challenges at the subnational level. The independent directors of local governments, in close consultation with all the government ministries, has for the first time developed a policy for subnational governance. The IDLG has coordinated development of the subnational policy according with its core policy development functions, and I have mentioned earlier. This policy seeks to overcome the current deficiencies in the structural problem of the subnational governance within the country, clear off the confusion that exists in relation, responsibilities, and procedures at the subnational level, improve the provincial planning and budget allocation, enhancing the function and authorities of the provinces in delivering basic services and development. Based on this policy, the 25% of the development budget for the provinces now will be decided within the provinces by the Provincial Council, Provincial Development Committee, and the governor. So they will be with the final decision makers about allocating 25% of Provincial Development Fund, which will be a major change the way we are now running the subnational governance in Afghanistan. The policy is approved by the Council of Ministers, and we are implementing this policy through legal instruments and programs. The legal instruments are laws and regulations and rules of procedures. The IDLG has prepared the first draft of the new laws and amendments to the existing law based on the endorsed subnational governance policy. The following program will assist us in policy implementation, meeting the challenges we are facing. We developed these programs to help us to implement the subnational policy. Some of these plans are already funded and somebody's still in the pipeline to be funded by the different international partners. The first is that the IDLG has established the Afghan Social Outreach Program. This program is based on the broader governance functions of the IDLG. That will enable us, this program, to create district shuras in very priority districts in Afghanistan, which there's DDA, District Development Assembly, is not functioning, and the CDCs are very weak. So as a transitional till the election of the district shuras, that will give us systematic interactions with the community that enable, empower communities to influence all those decisions which affect their lives in those relevant districts. So that project has already been started in Helmand and will be expanded to Ghazni, Logar, and Kapisa. Gradually, that will cover about 100 districts around the country. The second is the Performance-Based Governor Fund. This is for the first time the governors will have access to direct funding from the center. So this project will enable the governors that they have financial resources available that he can spend on the 6 different areas without seeking permission from the central offices or going to follow very unnecessary and very lengthy bureaucratic procedures. That will also enhance the capacity of the governor offices, that he can recruit more people and he can invest on institutional development of his capacity at the provincial level, which will pave the way for the full implementation of the policy, because we are assigning the provinces and the districts based on the new policy to the new jobs, which they never done it before, which they didn't have experience. With this fund, they will be able to create that capacity to gradually take more responsibility and exercise their more authority at the provincial level. Also, that the third is the municipal support program that my office also, beside the governors and the district governors, supervise about 153 municipalities around the country. So that's and we are intended to have municipality elections by end of 2011. Before that, we have to restructure and reform our municipalities. This is a $600 million project, will be implemented for the coming 5 years, will provide a framework for comprehensive reforms that will improve the function, capacity, and authorities of the municipalities in delivering services in Afghanistan. Also, that the district delivery program, DDP, the program is derived from the core institutional development function of IDLG. The district delivery program is another major program that paves way for consolidation of the district administration in critical and priority districts, coordinated with the military operations, like that we start implementation of this program in Nadali and Marja, that in the first phase, this program will be expanded to 11 districts, and in the first year, the program will be expanded to 48 districts, and then second year to another 42 districts around the country. The main goal of the program is to enable the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan to establish its legitimate presence that respond to the critical need of the population with regards to providing security, good governance, basic services, access to justice and hope. This program also laid down a sound foundation for economic stability and sustainable human development and better infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, as we speak here about the way ahead, it is critical to talk about legitimacy and functional capacity of the government institutions. In a way ahead, we envision that Afghanistan government institutions must take lead and full charges. We all know that legitimate power is obtained through explicit consent of the citizens. In any democratic setting, this consent is given by the sum of the individual citizen exercising their rights to vote through ballot boxes in order to grant legitimate power to the incumbent government. This is the first necessary condition that has to be met. Fortunately, this necessary condition has been fulfilled in the country, Afghanistan is now an elected president and a legitimate government. But legitimacy cannot only be conferred on government through ballot boxes. It would also be derived from the capacity of the government institutions to provide and deliver. This is a sufficient conditions that keep the legitimacy that had been conferred through the ballot boxes at the first place. Thus, it is the capacity of the government institution that reinforce the state legitimacy. Otherwise, the state gets different stamps in the current literature of the governance, like a failed state or fragile state or different names. I'm sure that we all agree that the parallel structure always undermines